All right, the next topic we're going to look at is subtracting integers. So we've talked about how we can use buckets of water and fires to represent integers. And now we're going to talk about how can we use that when we subtract our integers. Okay, now the first thing that I want to kind of show you is kind of a little off topic. All right, so this is a really, really old picture, okay, that is considered an optical illusion. So hopefully when you looked at this, you saw a picture of something. And you probably saw a picture of one of two things. You either saw a duck or you saw a rabbit. Okay, so the thing about this picture is that it's kind of both. It's kind of both things, right? This is the eye. And if you look at it for a rabbit, here's the rabbit's nose over here, and here's his ears. Or if you look at it the other way, you can look at it as this is the eye, and this is the duck's beak, and this is the back of his head. So it's a rabbit facing that direction, or it could be a duck facing that direction. Okay? So depending on what you look at, how you look at this, and what your perspective is, you see two different things. And that is what we're going to use as we look at subtracting integers. Okay, when you look at these problems, you just want to kind of look at it a different way. And here's what I mean. When we look at this problem, you might look at this and you say, oh, well, that one is a negative sign because it's in front of the 5, but that one's a minus sign because it's between the two numbers. But really, do those two things look any different? No, it's just your perspective that tells you that this one's a negative sign and this is a minus sign. So what we are going to do is we're going to change our perspective, and instead of seeing it as -5 minus 3, we're going to look at it and see -5 and a -3, and that's what we're going to combine together. Okay, so subtracting a negative is the same as adding a positive. We're going to come back to that in just a minute. Okay, but otherwise, you treat subtraction like an addition problem. So treat subtraction like, and I'm not sure exactly what words I was going to fill in this break. So I'm going to say like adding two integers. Okay, I'm not exactly sure what I meant to write in that blank. I don't think that was it. Okay, and just as a reminder, okay, we're going to use our fires and our buckets of water. So remember that each bucket of water is going to put out one fire. Okay, so each bucket of water is going to put out one fire. Here's my little sticks and logs that are burning here. Okay, so that is what we are going to use as we do this. Okay, so let's start by looking at this problem here. So instead of looking at this as -5 minus 3, I'm going to look at it as -5 and -3. Okay, so using my fires and buckets of water, that means that I have -5, so that's 5 fires. And then -3 is 3 more fires, right? That's all that this problem is saying. So don't look at this as -5 minus 3. You want to kind of regroup it and look at it like this as a -5 and then also a -3. And when I put all that together, what am I going to have? Well, nothing cancels out because remember, you have to have a fire and a bucket of water to cancel. 2 fires don't cancel each other out. They just make more fire. Okay, so -5 and -3 together, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 8 fires. So my answer is -8. Okay, and then I'm just going to go ahead and draw my picture. So in my picture, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fires. And then I have 3 more fires. And that's where I got my answer from. All right, this guy over here, 2 minus 4. Instead of looking at it as 2 minus 4, I'm going to change my perspective and say that this is like a 2 and that this is like a -4. And we're just going to combine those together. So what's that going to look like? Well, +2, that means that I'm going to have 2 buckets of water. And then -4, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 fires. Okay, and then what's going to happen? Well, I've got a bucket of water and a fire. So this bucket of water is going to put this fire out. They're gone. This bucket of water is going to put this fire out. They're gone. And what do I have left over? I have 2 fires left. So my answer is -2. All right. So my picture for this one, I'm going to draw 2 buckets of water. And then I'm going to draw 4 fires. Okay, and then what happens? Well, 1 bucket of water puts out 1 fire. So these guys cancel each other out. These guys cancel each other out. And that's what we got our answer from. We had 2 fires left over. Okay, this guy down here. Now here is where that top line at the top of your paper, right? We said that subtracting a negative is the same as adding a positive. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, this is our switching our perspective thing again, right? So when I look at this problem, I've got a -1 minus a -3, and that's just an awful lot of negative signs. So here's how we're going to switch our perspective. See this part in the middle there? On the one hand, it looks like a minus sign and then a parenthesis and then another minus sign. But on the other hand, if you switch your perspective, can you see how it looks like a plus sign? Right? So that's what we're going to do here. I'm going to say, okay, even though I know that this is supposed to be a minus and then a negative, I am going to switch my perspective and look at it like it's a giant plus sign. Okay? And then what I have is I have a -1 over here. And now I've got a +3, so I've got a +3 over here. And that's what I'm going to combine together. So I've got 1 fire, and then I have 3 buckets of water. So 1, 2, 3 buckets of water. What's going to happen? Well, this fire and bucket of water, they're going to get rid of each other. And I'm left with 2 buckets of water. So my answer is going to be +2. Okay? All right, drawing my picture. I have 1 fire, and then I have 3 buckets of water. Right? And then when I look at that, these guys cancel each other out. Okay? So when you're drawing your picture, I don't expect to see anything fancy for how we changed our perspective here. You're just going to kind of change your perspective. I think it might be helpful if you draw in that giant plus sign and then just draw your picture like normal. All right, so then this guy over here, our last one. So again, we've got this a minus and then a parenthesis and then a negative sign. And we're going to change our perspective and make this look like a giant plus sign. Okay, so then what do I have? Well, I've got a -2 over here. And then on the other side, I've got a +1, a +1. So that is what I'm going to combine together. So 2 negatives, that means I've got 2 fires. And then 1 positive is 1 bucket of water. A bucket of water gets rid of a fire. So those are gone. And my answer is -1 because I have 1 fire left over. Okay, so my picture, I've got 2 fires, and then I have 1 bucket of water. Right, and that 1 fire and 1 bucket of water put each other out. And that's how I got my answer. Okay, so adding integers, really easy, and subtracting integers is pretty much the same thing. You just switch your perspective a little bit about what it looks like. It looks like it says -3, but we're going to switch our perspective to make it a -3. And this looks like a -3. We're going to switch our perspective to make it look like a +3. Okay, so as long as you switch your perspective a little bit, subtracting integers, you can totally handle.